In this episode of Connect for Life, the podcast, Melanie Taddeo chats with Mark Brown about what it means to live with a disability. Mark has a physical disability, and he relies on the use of a wheelchair to get around, while Melanie is legally blind. Despite the difference in each disability, both Mark and Melanie experience many of the same things each and every day, which range from stigmas and misconceptions about a person's disability to an all too often misunderstanding about the abilities that someone might actually have, despite the disability on the surface. You'll also enjoy hearing about some of their pet peeves, including able-bodied people parking their cars in spots designated for someone with a disability, or simply not being able to get into an establishment. It's a candid and enlightening conversation that helps everyone put a different perspective on disability and just might help steer people into thinking more about ability than disability.
Welcome to Connect for Life, the podcast. I'm Melanie Taddeo, and I'm joined by
Mark Brown.
We're hoping you're having a fabulous day, and we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the challenges and barriers that individuals with disabilities face on an everyday basis. Mark, tell us a little bit about your disability and some of the mobility challenges you face.
Well, my disability is I'm a quadriplegic. So I use a manual wheelchair at this time to get around. And some of my challenges are curves, doorways, anything that I have to go through, or maybe I have to ask somebody for help that I can't do independently, which is a lot of things, unfortunately, I need to have accessible to get through.
So how does that make you feel when you have to ask for help?
It makes me feel not independent.
Okay, so you feel dependent.
Very much so.
Okay. And for myself, as somebody who is legally blind, I utilize a white cane to navigate my world. And some of the challenges I face, obviously, is non-talking elevators. Yeah, wayfinding for sure. But I think one of the common challenges we both face is accessible transportation. Would you agree?
Oh my God, so much.
So we are both very blessed to have access to accessible transit. However, let's talk about some of the challenges we face with that.
Yes. Well, I live in the East End, so I have access to the TTC. And let me tell you, it's not as dependent as they make it seem.
What do you mean by that?
Well, sometimes you will book your ride to be picked up at 8 o'clock. If you're lucky to be on time, they may pick you up at 7. But other times, you're being picked up after your pickup time, 8:30, so you're going to get to your appointment definitely late. And if you worked out a schedule where you have to meet different appointments in the one day, you're not going to make it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And we know that it's a shared service. So there's other people that they have to pick up along the way. So we get the fact that sometimes they're running late. And of course, traffic is out of our control. But what would you like to see different with accessible transportation?
Well, definitely from point A to point B. I mean, that might be impossible, but if there's less people to drop off, it makes it that much more smoother of a ride. Living in different parts of the city, especially here in Toronto, I don't want to have to go to Steeles and then have to make my way further east to get home. I just want to put on a plan that's going to take me east with 1, maybe 2 passengers en route. So it's not going to be that difficult to get home at an appropriate time.
Okay, so that's you bring up a good point. So making sure that at least the schedule of pickups and the map of the routing of the map makes sense. It's going in the same direction. It's not going all over north, south, east, west to get you to your location.
Right, exactly. And I've experienced that. And it's very exhausting on the body.
Absolutely. And I think, so we have to think of the criteria. So we understand as accessible transit users that we could very well be on the ride for an hour and a half to get to our location. That is challenging, definitely, for anybody with a disability that may, not be able to sit for long periods of time or any sort of medical condition. And I know for myself, I get very frustrated when the drivers don't come and call my name out and I miss my ride because I can't see it and they give me a no-show. Has that happened to you before, Mark?
Absolutely. And that has given me great anxiety when I'm waiting at a spot and I see wheel-trans come pull up, but it's for somebody else. But that person is going in the same direction as me, not that far away from my location, but I'm not on their ride. It's frustrating. And other bus comes and the same thing. So I end up being in the same spots much longer than I need it to be.
So we know we want this to be solution-based basis because obviously we can complain all we want, but nobody's going to listen. But so you're suggesting the mapping of the routes make more common sense to go in the same direction. You're not saying you don't want people to be out on the same ride. It's just makes sense of the routing. For me, it's about training of the staff, whether it's trans help or wheel trans. We want to make sure everybody has understanding of what disability means and how to best support the individual disabilities. We know that a lot of the organizations or companies have other companies that help them out with the routes. So taxi companies, different accessible vehicle.
Right.
So what would you say, Mark, is the best suggestion for training for those subcontractors?
For the subcontractors, they need to be trained just like the TTC drivers. So the same time they're getting their training with the TTC drivers are being trained is the same time that the TTC sub drivers should be getting trained. So everybody's on the same page. Because sometimes when a subcontractor answers you, it's not very cordial,
Uh,
let's say.
yeah, I agree. And I think, you know what? Sometimes some of the contractors are afraid of what they're doing because perhaps it's not their regular route and they've been thrown into the situation. So I strongly believe that all drivers for subcontractors should be trained, whether they're doing trans help or wheel trans or not.
No, absolutely. Because for you, I know that you need somebody that understands a person with a visual impairment. You cannot just grab them and let them follow you. It doesn't work that way. They need to learn better listening skills.
They
Don't
need
you say?
absolutely. They definitely need that, and they need to communicate orally and not just wave at us. Because I've had that happen before. I was waving at you. Well, that doesn't help me much. Yeah. And also, I think, we definitely need to give credit where credit is due, though, too.
Absolutely.
Would you say, like, some of the drivers are incredible? They love their job. They really want to help. They're in the right place. But I think that sometimes the stress of traffic and the scheduling gets to them. Would you agree?
No, I definitely agree. What I think these companies need to do to help the subcontractors and even their own drivers is to have more detailed information on the clients. To say,
Yes.
this client is visually impaired. So they know right off the bat that through their training, they should not be doing this. Through, I am a quadriplegic, so I'm going to need a little bit more assistance in going through humps and bumps. So I need them to bring me from the actual transit bus to the physical doorway to get me through, because I cannot push up the ramps because the ramps are great. However, I need assistance going up that ramp.
Absolutely. And I agree. For me, what I find interesting, and I understand and I appreciate the fact that our accessible transit providers, meaning Trans Help and Wheel-Trans, are protecting our private information. But for me, I rather than put on my client file for the drivers, she's legally blind. She needs you to call it, and she needs assistance. And this is her phone number. If you can't see her, call her. And I'm happy with that because then I don't miss my ride. Whereas they're like, we can't share your personal information. But I said, even if I give you permission,
Yeah.
and they said no. So
Yeah, that makes no sense because in the medical field, they ask you, can we share your personal information? And you sign off.
yeah, exactly.
And that's all we need to do because it's important. Because ideally, we can be in locations that are unsafe
Mm-hmm.
and it's dark.
Yeah.
Visually or non-visually, we are left in a position where we do not feel safe. And it's knowing that that TTC driver or wheel-trans driver or transit driver can call us to say, hey, we're here. Where are you?
Mm, absolutely. I think that's a really important factor. So that's transportation. That's just one challenge.
Oh my God, one is right.
So let's talk about unemployment and employment. So we know people with disabilities, there's 27% of people with disabilities in Canada, and the unemployment rate is skyrocketing high. Right now, despite the education and the training of individuals with disabilities, the employment rate is still very high. What are you feeling in is some of the challenges and barriers that people with disabilities face when it comes to employment?
People feel embarrassed, lack of respect. If they get a job, and that's a big if, they don't get the full assistance that they need or the full equipment that they need to be successful. Because a lot of people with disabilities want to work. They don't want to necessarily stay home and collect a check or money. They want to physically get out there and participate in our economy and make friends and get out there.
100%. So are you saying that we need to educate the employers a bit more about what resources are out there for them, such as being able to have accommodation assessments done for their employees?
Absolutely. And a great organization that does that is Connect for Life.
Absolutely. And, there's CCRW as well, Canadian Council for Rehabilitation and Work, that are big partners with many big organizations and companies that do this. But Connect for Life definitely will help navigate and help educate employers to understand the benefits of hiring people with disabilities and what resources are available for them. And again, it's not a scary thing. I've heard over and over again employees say it's too expensive to hire people with disabilities. They're a risk for our insurance. But the reality is that, in fact, people with disabilities are going to be safer than people without disabilities because we're not going to take risks. Would you agree?
Absolutely. We don't call in sick
Mhm.
because we want to be there.
That's it. And that's the other myth I think that's out there. Oh, people with disabilities are always going to be sick. They're not going to come to work. But you're right. We're not going to call in sick because we feel we want to be a part of something great and do our very best.
And there are a lot of government grants that provide employers with the right accommodations to help them hire people with disabilities.
Including wage subsidy. You're right, Mark. And I think a lot of employers are not educated on this. And this is where Connect for Life can come in and help share information and resources.
No, absolutely. Because I, as an individual with a disability, would love to be able to say that I work for a company that has provided me with a job, has been able to allow me to sustain myself and my family. It makes me feel good about myself.
And I think the important thing for companies to really look at it, because we know businesses are looking at their bottom line. but it makes good business sense to hire people with disabilities. And why I say that is there's 1 billion people within this world with disabilities. And in Canada alone, how many millions? I think there's 6.4 million people with disabilities.
Absolutely.
So their networks, their families, their circle of care, all those people are more likely to spend their money at companies that hire people with disabilities.
No doubt. And this is a great opportunity for businesses to look further into it and see what the government can do for them. Because, as I said, as a person with a disability, not all of us want to be at home. We want to be useful. We want to help you grow your business.
Absolutely. And I think another big challenge when we're talking about businesses is actually getting into the facility. So let's not say so we're employees, but what if we're customers, Mark, and you can't get your wheelchair into the business? Are you going to go in or not?
No,
No. So it's
absolutely.
lost business, right?
Yeah, a lot of businesses don't provide ramps. A lot of businesses don't have push buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nobody, let's say, in the store that's really looking at the door to say, provide assistance in opening the door.
And for me, when I go into a shop, and if I don't have somebody, not that I want people to pounce on me the minute I get in the door, but if they see me looking around and struggling, I would hope somebody would come over and ask if they can assist me because I can't see the prices on some of the items. And I think, again, they figure, well, it's not my job. I have to make sales. But they literally, they don't know what we're going to buy.
No, and they don't realize that people with disabilities, remarkably, have a lot of spending power.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's a myth, a misconception that a lot of people are still believing. Similarly, would you agree business websites need to be accessible?
Absolutely. People with visual impairments need to have full access to the websites. Just like myself, if I go to a website, I need to be able to be seeing it correctly so that I'm able to get the proper information so that if I want to make a purchase, I'm going to make a right purchase.
Absolutely. And you don't want it to be convoluted in the sense of where is this? I have to go here, here, and here to actually purchase something, right?
Complication, the world is complicated enough.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, as somebody doesn't have, well, I use a screen reader. So if it's not accessible with my screen reader, I'm not going to spend my time on that website and purchase something. This is a lost sale, right? Like that.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of websites do not accommodate people with a visual impairment. So that having a website that can speak to a person with a visual impairment will definitely increase
I,
your.
yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Even just having the option to increase the font size, the color contrast, that sort of thing goes a long way. And I think a lot of us with disabilities, we've been advocating for this, but people in the business sector don't see the value because they don't think it's going to impact as many people. But what we don't realize is our population is aging, and the first thing to go is eyesight, right?
Absolutely. And you may not be in an accident. You may not wake up tomorrow morning and need anything to aid you with your mobility. But you have to remember, as you age, your body changes, and then you become dependent on certain things. And these certain things do not make you a disabled person. It just makes you more of an able-bodied person to have access to these equipments to make you be more independent, as I want to be as much as I can be.
Absolutely. And I think what people automatically assume and attribute to the word accessibility is for people with disabilities. But in fact, accessibility is just having access to enter or to access resources and information. And so it doesn't mean you have to have a disability to have accessibility, because really, truly, think about the benefits for everybody in the community, for those curb cuts, for those door openers, for accessible websites, playgrounds, and walkways. Everybody benefits. Strollers, bundle buggies of shopping, all of those things. What else, Mark?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm a person with a disability and I have a parking permit. So I get the privilege of parking closer to the door.
Hmm.
But there are people who are able-bodied who would do anything, even pay money to have a parking permit with a disabled sign on it to have access to that close parking.
Yeah.
What
But
does that say to me?
it's true. But doesn't it annoy you when people that don't have the pass park in those spots?
Most definitely. And you have to wait for them to come out so you can get that space.
Actually, we took my mom to go to the local Canadian Tire.
Oh,
And it's not just Canadian Tire, but it just happened to be to go shopping in the garden center.
yes.
And all of the spots taken up for the garden center seem to be the accessible parking spots. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yes, I don't understand that. No, it doesn't matter where you
Yeah,
go.
it's true. It's all over.
Costco,
Yeah.
Walmart,
Superstore, you got
all
it.
the
Yeah.
accessible parking spaces are full.
And that's crazy because the thing is, my mom needed that disabled parking spot. So my husband had to stop and pull the car up so my mom could get it with her walker. And because she's the one buying the flowers, again, it doesn't, you never know who's buying them. And then he had to go park far away and then come back and be with her. So really, truly, when we're planning things out for the community, we're thinking smart, but yet we don't know who we're impacting.
Yes. Nobody is monitoring those parking spaces that are desperately needed for people with disabilities.
Yeah, and I find it interesting because there are these a lot of specials parking spots. I've seen parking spots for small hybrid cars, electric cars,
Mothers.
mothers with children. Yes.
And those, remarkably, I would think those would be full,
Mm,
but I've seen like 3 and 4 in a Walmart parking,
yeah.
Costco parking that are all empty, but the accessible parkings are full.
And that's it. So we really have to think, how are people planning out their business structure? So it might not be an everyday thing that you have a garden center, but the season is coming. Can you not plan to have it maybe at the back of the parking lot where there's regular parking spots instead of near the front? I know the staff have to monitor it, but come on. These are your customers.
Due diligence. Think about your clients that want to come in but can't come in because there are barriers.
Absolutely. Mark, I think another challenge that we need to address is the society and the way that they look at disability. Now, we know at Connect for Life, we focus on people's abilities, but what are some of the things that people, when they see you in a wheelchair, what do you find that they assume?
Well, for me, I am typically 6'3", 6'4", and I'm about 195, 210, give or take.
Hmm.
And I'm a black guy. Not that it wouldn't matter if I was a white guy or a brown guy, but societies, it is what it is. People are intimidated by me and they wonder, how did I end up in a wheelchair? And unfortunately, they're going to go with, oh, he must have been a criminal. He got shot. And no, I had a motor vehicle accident. I was a passenger.
Hmm.
So,
So these assumptions are misinformed, just
yeah, don't judge a
conclusions.
book.
Yeah.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Do you find that people may try to help you by pushing your wheelchair?
No,
No, you don't like that happen at all, eh?
no. I'm not saying people haven't helped me because definitely when I've been let off by TTC or public transit, um, there have been people that have opened up doors for me, have asked me questions in how to, if I need something. So there are definitely people that take notice and do these things. Now, I must say that a lot of people who help individuals with disabilities are people who have come in contact with family members, friends, coworkers who have disabilities. So they are aware that way.
Yeah, I think you're right because I think a lot of people are afraid of us because they don't know what to say. They don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing.
Yes.
Always reminded when I first lost my eyesight and I was navigating my world with my white cane to cross the street. It happened the bus stop was at the corner. And so somebody thought I was going to cross the street, but in fact I was waiting for the bus. And they took my arm and crossed me across the street. I'm like, thank you, but I needed to be at the bus stop. So we really have to encourage people to ask, how can I best support you? Or would you like assistance before assuming we need help? Would you agree?
No, most definitely. It's about asking questions and listen effectively.
Hmm. And asking questions in a respectful and curious, but
Yes.
dignified way. The biggest pet peeve I have is when people talk really, really, really loud or really, really, really slow because they think either I have a cognitive impairment or I'm hard of hearing. But in fact, my white cane identifies that I'm blind. How about you? What is your pet peeve?
My pet peeve is parents and little children. Little children are curious, not to say that they're scared to see me and my wheelchair. They just want to know, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
And their parents, instead of explaining to them or even asking if I wouldn't mind, because I actually wouldn't, they drag the child along. So the child is not getting the information that they want. So they're leaving, perturbed, unanswered.
And it could be that they're going to narrate the answer for them and it could be incorrect.
Right.
Yeah.
And the child goes off thinking, well, this is not important. And they grow this way and unfortunately treat individuals in wheelchairs or disability in a negative manner.
So, what is the solution here, Mark? How can we educate the public about different types of disabilities in a respectful way that is going to help people feel a little bit more comfortable about assisting when necessary, or perhaps just change the narrative?
Well, honestly, not to toot our own whistle, but get in contact with an organization like Connect for Life. And that's CONNECT, the number 4 life.ca. Send us an email. We'll get back to you and we will definitely put you on the right track.
Absolutely. We do sensitivity training. We come out to your company, your organization, have a talk, and we bring individuals with lived experiences to share our experiences so that we can better educate. We've done it for schools, we've done it for businesses, and it's a great opportunity to learn and ask those questions that you're anxious to know the answer to, but maybe not wanting to insult somebody by asking. We have that open dialogue, and I think it's very important. So today we just wanted to talk a little bit about challenges and how we are coming up with solutions as individuals with disabilities and, of course, as Connect for Life. Thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time.
I'm Mark Brown.
And I'm Melanie. See you later.
You have been listening to Connect for Life, the podcast. Connect for Life is a Canadian-based registered charity committed to eliminating barriers for people with disabilities. Visit connectforlife.ca and join us in helping people with disabilities become the champions of their growth stories.